It is 9 a.m., so we should probably begin the meeting unless I hear from someone for a reason not to at this point.
Good morning. This is Christy. We are ready to start. We do not have Tanya yet, but she should log in shortly. But we can go ahead and
Great.
start.
Let's go ahead and start then. Let's begin with establishing the legitimacy of our quorum. So we have one. Christy, do you want to uh, give us the roll call?
Of course, Steve Weeks.
Present?
Tanya Fairley is absent right at this time. Yolanda Jimenez.
Present.
Paulette Kavanaugh.
Present.
Tamika Miller.
Present.
Jacob Rostowski is not joining us today, and we do have a quorum.
All right, excellent. I'm glad we have a quorum. I know it's awfully hard to start your week with an early morning meeting like this, but although we have some important business, I don't think it's going to take very long to deal with this business, so we can move on from there. Let's begin with the first order of the day, and that is because it's the first meeting we're having in this new year, we can elect a new committee chair. So do we have a motion from anyone to nominate for committee chair?
Can the chair stay the same? And Steve, would you like to keep it?
I'd be happy to. I have the time. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
Then I'd like to nominate Steve Weeks for the chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. Now, Christy, is there any public comment on this? Of people in person?
Not in the room.
In that case, I'll open it to the moderator to open to the public for public comment.
We are open via WebEx for committee chair. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. For our mobile device users, you have 3 different screens and only one of them has a hand button. So you may need to hit the ellipses button. That's the dot, dot, dot at the bottom in order to find that hand. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand. And we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to give you 3 minutes to speak, and I'll give you a 15-second warning before your time expires. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, moderator, and thank you for the explanation. You made it very clear on how to use the system. Let's now then, Christy, can you do a roll call for the vote?
Yes, Steve Weeks.
Yes?
Yolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh.
Yes.
And Tamika Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the third item of business, and that's the approval of the January 22nd committee meetings. Do we have, take a moment or so just to review the minutes real quickly to refresh yourself if you have any questions. If we don't have any questions, do we have a motion to approve the minutes then?
Yolanda Jimenez motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd, 2024.
Paulette Kavanaugh, I second.
All right, do we now have any public comment in person?
We do not.
That being the case, the moderator can open the meeting for public comment then.
We are once again open for public comment, this time on the meeting minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button. For mobile device users, as a reminder, you may need to hit the ellipses button. That's the dot, dot, dot at the bottom in order to find your hand button. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. That being the case, Christy, could you do a roll call of the vote?
Steve Weeks.
Yes?
Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Tamika Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now we're on to item number 4, and this came up from the last meeting, a discussion and possible recommendation regarding operating as a corporation or LLC member if a personal license was previously disciplined. And Christy, you want to talk about this first?
Sure. So in your packet, we have provided some background on this topic. When an establishment application is received, our staff do a license check on all officers listed on either the corporation, the partnership, if it's a sole owner. They go through a check of each of those owners, and our system would show us if they did have prior discipline. What we don't do is require any corporation to inform us if an officer has changed. So we get this information originally when they apply for a license, but if there's any change in corporate officers, we do not know that information. So we think currently the way our laws and regulations are written, we do as much as required. If we wanted to do more to look at potentially checking any new officers, that would require a new regulation, which the board could discuss or this committee can discuss if they want to do that. We certainly could move forward and start looking at that process, and we would want to look deep at the impact to the workload. We can run some numbers and bring back to the committee on how many corporations we have. Most that are doing things correctly do know that when their corporation actually changes, they do have to apply for a new license, but it isn't clear in our laws or regulations. I do think it's something we could do regulations on. I would caution the committee that we have a long list of regulations waiting to be done still that we are working on. So this would be something I think we could start, if the committee chooses, we could start exploring how we could do this, requiring corporations to tell us who their current officers are and if any officers change. And then that would give us one more step in verifying if those individual licenses have been disciplined in the past. So it's up to the committee to discuss if they feel we should move forward. We could do more extensive research on the number of corporations. I know there's other boards and bureaus that do require corporate officer changes, so we could get some information from them as well as to how we could implement that process.
Thanks, Christy. I know there's some work to go through on that one. I know staff is also burdened with a lot of things we're going through always. So that's an issue. My concern though is it goes a little beyond that. Supposing I was a corporation and the establishment was approved under my name as president of the corporation, so I got an establishment license. Could not my corporation hire a bona fide employee to come in and act in the capacity for my corporation as an establishment owner? I'm using that term loosely, but the responsibilities involved in that. I just think that excluded from our present disclosure are things like corporate employees, stockholders, contractors who then may be placed by the corporate entity as a manager of one of our establishments. There's no requirements now to disclose the names of who these other individuals may be. So something along the lines, I'm not suggesting this as a motion, but just to state what I think the problem is, something along the lines of any establishment licensee, corporate or real, shall not employ or contract with any individual for the management of establishment who has been previously disciplined by the board. When a corporation LLC has a change of officer, the board shall be notified, of course. I just worry that they can get around this by not disclosing someone that caused us problems in the past. So as many names of disclosure we can get. And it also applies not only to corporations, but to proprietorships and partnerships too, of having bona fide employees, that the partnership is the establishment, but they allow someone that we don't know and are disclosed up front to actually run the establishment. Do you see that as a problem, Christy?
Well, we do have the other section of statute that requires a licensee in charge. We just don't ask that person to be named.
Right. Right.
Hi, Steve. This is Sabina.
Right.
I would have, I understand what you're saying. One of the concerns I would have is that a barrier to employment, previous discipline? I mean, just because you are previously disciplined, I mean, you're still able to work, right?
Right.
Well, right, we don't necessarily say that the licensee in charge would have to not have previous discipline.
Someone could theoretically be approved by us. As long as we get disclosure, I think is all we're after, is forcing the licensee, corporate or real, to just disclose who it may be. And it may change our process. What may change our process also in this new year is the requirements of the new Corporate Transparency Act in California. So starting in January of this year, now all corporations are required to fill out a beneficial owners information form, which requires identifying information about individuals who directly or indirectly own or control a company. Maybe we should look at that as something maybe we should collect as part of any corporation doing business with us. But it throws a new wrinkle in and gives us more disclosure than we had in the past. I've not seen that form, but I know it exists.
So I think we might have to do a little more research than what's been done with that in mind and come back with a different recommendation, I think.
Okay. Is that acceptable to the other members of the committee? How do you folks feel about it?
Yes, I'm okay with that. It's Yolanda.
Okay.
This is Cola. I would agree to kind of see what the new recommendation would be from the executive officer staff.
Great. Great.
Miller, I agree as well.
Okay, good. Then we pass it through to just one more small chore for our executive staff and our general staff of the board. So good luck with that one. But we'll be seeing that shortly. I guess that would come back to us in another committee meeting, would it, Christy?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's great. Um, is there is public comment required on this?
I
Just
would
for
open it
discussion.
up for public comment. We do not have any here in the room.
Okay, are there any, I'll open it up to the moderator for any public comment.
We are open via WebEx for public comment on agenda item 4. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial in users dial *3. And for our mobile device users, as a reminder, you need to hit the ellipses button. That's the ... if you're having trouble finding your hand button. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Please, thank you. Since this was a discussion item, is there a resolution needed by this committee?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on to the last item, and that is there any public comment on items that are not on this agenda?
None in the room.
And are there any online?
We are open for public comment on agenda item 5, items not on the agenda. If you'd like to make a comment, raise a hand by tapping that hand button. Dial in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few more seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue?
Please. And since there is no public comment either in person or online, we'll move to the last item. Any suggestions by our committee members for any future agenda items that you'd like to have discussed?
No, not from Tamika Miller.
I think we're going to add number 4 to the future agenda item, or keep it on our agenda, the one that we just had the discussion about regarding the LLCs.
Right, right. Okay, let's move on then. Let's see what our next board meeting may bring our way, sent to us by the board. So it should be interesting. And that being the case, then this committee can adjourn.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to you all for participating. I appreciate you getting up and doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.